week. So, yeah, they're already starting work towards year two. But yet there's some decisions yet to be made that, I'm meeting with guys and working through it. And um, that'll probably be, I would imagine, solidified over the next, couple weeks before we break for the winter. It is the seems like the ground is constantly shifting. But what I know is the team that returns will be ready for the task at hand and energized for it. And then, the areas where we'll have turnover in our roster will be healthy too. And, just because someone's not back doesn't mean that they weren't great contributors, for us. And, I celebrate that. And yet I think, for anything that's new, it's about bringing that new growth in and giving that new growth room to grow and develop on the field. So we'll work through it. It's definitely a different time in the landscape of college football, but all positives.
Robbie?
Yeah, Clark, what are your plans in terms of potential, staffing changes, including possibly offensive coordinator? And I guess how have you gone about evaluating that?
Well, right now our focus is on recruiting, to be honest with you. It'll be kind of a 2-week sprint here to the early signing day, and we're kind of all working in earnest on that. We'll address the staff and all that is entailed there, once the recruiting waters settle a little bit. But I'm pleased with our growth together. I think that there were a lot of strides made. I think chemistry within the staff is critical, and I see that. We'll as a staff have discussions, after recruiting, and that'll give way to all those decisions that need to be made moving forward.
Chris, you have another?
Yeah, to follow up on what Robbie asked, how do you evaluate that? Because I know that there were some units that didn't perform the way you wanted to perform. Sometimes that's talent, sometimes that's coaching. You also have got several positions in coordinator spots that if you make a change somewhere, you're looking at kids on the team that are playing for a third, fourth, fifth different coordinator or position coach. So how do you evaluate just the continuity aspect? And again, most of that's beyond your control, but how does that factor into the equation when you're looking at that kind of change or not making a change?
I think you're targeting in on something that is critical. And I want to say that from my advantage, certainly sometimes your staff turnover isn't within your control. But from my vantage point, when you have underperforming units, you're going to look and say, okay, where is it that we need to improve the fundamental technical development? Where is it that we need to improve the teaching and communication? Where is it that we need to improve the skills? And to me, it's a targeted approach to development, no different than we have with our players. A staff is an interlocked, organism. It's something that has the ability to grow and evolve and adapt in the way it interacts within itself, right? Like, a linebacker coach working for a defensive coordinator, O-line coach working for an offensive coordinator, so on and so forth. Developing those relationships and that experience together compounds growth within the staff. And so I don't see it as, I will never see it as a situation where, you when you have issues, you look for the escape hatch. To me, it's where you have issues, you address them, you work to grow together, and you work to push evolution for the position coach or within the position room that allows for the advancement. But what I do know is the more that you can keep language the same, the more that you can deepen interpersonal relationships. That's something these kids haven't had a chance to experience. And so that's something that I'm really excited for them to experience here moving forward. I can tell you that my 4th year at Notre Dame was one of my favorite I've ever had as a coach, just because my guard was down. We had such depth of relationship, that it was fluid always, and it just makes it fun. So we want to create that here too. And not that we didn't have issues, we'll address those, but we address them with the mindset of development, just like we do with our players.
Robbie?
Yeah, I guess now that you've had a chance to look at the full season and evaluate and everything like that, what how active do you expect to be in the transfer portal? Do you think you could take maybe more guys than what you would do normally, just because of all the roster movement and needing to build up from a 2-10 season?
Well, I don't feel. First of all, normally. The portal, like normal behavior for us in the portal, I don't think has been defined, because we didn't have the ability or the room to do anything there a year ago. And I will also say that, when you look at sustained growth or building to sustained growth, you're still looking at a high school player being valued a little higher from a standpoint of, in 2 years, they'll be hitting their stride for year 3 and year 4. The transfer portal sometimes is a 1-year transaction, could be a 2-year transaction, but not that there's not value in that. But for me, the formula within this program and the patience required and the discipline required here is to understand that, that high school player is going to be a 3rd, 4th, and 5th year player in this league that we can develop in our systems. That gives us the best chance at putting the best team on the field to compete at the highest possible level. So to address your question specifically, we will absolutely look at the portal as a way to strengthen depth, as a way to support areas that we feel like need support. And yet the focus is going to be first on stocking that freshman class with what we feel like is talented players that can impact change immediately, but also can develop into high-level SEC performers. How the balance of that is to be determined, right? We're working through that now, and it's all recruiting. So even the transfer portal is about recruiting too. We got to recruit division. We have to show where the need is, and through that process, we'll put this roster in the best shape we can.
Joe.
Yeah, Clark, following up on that, on the portal, the idea of, obviously you want to have, 4 and 5 year players and have that foundation. Do you feel like it's become more difficult to, maintain, recruiting classes over that duration because of the portal in the past few years? Like, how does that enter into the equation for you?
Well, it's something that, you calculate ahead of time, Joe. So like, this portal reality has been a reality. Now, I think for us, what I think we all have to have awareness of is that, every player in this program, except for a couple, were recruited to a program that no longer exists. And that can be very challenging to a player, because you're, and I've said this before, not to, because you're occupying the same spaces under different standards and expectations. So naturally, your retention rate adjusts accordingly. But I think that also is what's needed here, because those who choose that this isn't the right program for them moving forward give us the opportunity to recruit into the culture that we're building. And then those who have identified that this is exactly the place that we want to be, and I want to make this drastically different enough so that there is a line of choice, that nucleus of team is so strong that you start to grow the program towards its vision. And so retaining players is a huge thing. I think that's about a positive coaching environment. I think that's about energy, enthusiasm, spirit. I think that's about them stepping into this building every day feeling like they're getting an experience that's moving them towards their long-term goals in football. They're around coaches that have that enthusiasm for craft and for shaping and building a craft. They're in schemes that fit their skill sets, and we're asking them to do things that they feel like they can do. They're in a weight room, a strength program where they see physical gains and speed gains. And then, again, how this program interacts with our campus. That, there's a great relationship here between Vanderbilt football and the Vanderbilt University, and how we build the best student athlete experience in the country. That focus, we're still working through that, right? So, but that focus is what allows you to retain people. They believe if there's a vision, if there's a purpose, right, in this, and if they feel supported, it's those three things: support, vision, and purpose that is in front of them every day. That as guys opt into this program, and then obviously we recruit into the program, what they'll feel and what you'll see is the growth of those three things: support, vision, purpose, and that'll allow us to retain players. And as they get on the field too, that's the other part. We need to play more players. That'll be a focus for us heading into year two also.
Chris Harris.
Hey, Clark, I'm curious, what question are you and your staff getting the most from recruits as you try to sell them?
I think recruits want to know, want to see tangible evidence of, like, they feel the energy, they feel they see the support structure. They want to say, hey, what's the plan for this being the launch of a different era of Vanderbilt football? And I think we point to leadership and resources. And I think it's a really cool moment, because we're I feel like we're gaining traction in recruiting, because when people drop into our environment, they're surrounded by men and women that have energy and spirit for what we're doing. They see the plans ahead of us for Vandy United. And they see an athletics director and a chancellor that are not desperate, but are energized to get this program to its potential. And so, I think those things mark this as a new era of Vanderbilt football, and it's a fun conversation to have. It's one that we can really, let our hair down with if I was able to do that.
Chris Lee.
Yeah, I know that culture change was a big thing. Previous staffs may have had different standards with respect to off the field stuff, classroom things, practice habits, any number of things. Without making you get specific where you might be uncomfortable, how big of a challenge was that? How big of a challenge is that still, as you try to get the way you want things done over to a group of players who have been there for years, who maybe did things a different way for 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
Yes, sir. So our habits are way ahead of our results. And so untangling that becomes the challenge of year one. The psychology around change is hard, and it's relentless. I do feel like year one's a foundational year. I do feel like we covered a lot of ground. I still think there's ground to cover there. So we're not going to just shift totally, but what we've said internally is year one is about what we do. Year two is about how we do it. And what I mean specifically is to go into depth and detail. I mean, what we weren't able to do last January is, throw or, train drill specific or technique specific or tactic specific work, that now, knowing that we have systems in place and structures in place, we can start the process of growing into those systems and structures now. We don't have to wait. In fact, I think, and it's all voluntary, it's on their own, but the kids have already been out throwing this week. I think that's you talk about building chemistry between quarterback and receiver, all the one-on-one balls that we're going to throw. This is the time to do it. January is the time to do it. We can throw a billion back shoulder fades from now until the next season. So how we do things becomes the focus, and yet we're still going to be in our infancy in year two. And so there has to be this relentless focus on the what we do also, and to make sure that those standards and expectations are ingrained. And really, I think part of it is they go from coach driven to player driven. Like player ownership becomes a signature of our growth and our trajectory. How quickly can we get those guys in the locker room to take the standards for their own?
Bobby.
Yeah, Clark, what was your reaction to Brian Kelly going to LSU?
I'm happy for Coach. I was, obviously disappointed for the players in South Bend, but I'm excited about all that's going on there now. Those kids have worked so hard. I mean, there are fifth-year seniors in that program that have won over 50 games in their time, which is remarkable. So I thought that the timing was unfortunate, but I'm excited for Coach to take on a new challenge. I'll look forward to seeing him at our SEC events, be able to catch up on old times. And I'm excited for the boys back in South Bend too, that they can continue on their journey with some stability.
Chris Harris.
Yeah, to follow up on that, Clark, have you ever heard him use a Southern accent before?
I haven't, but I've been. It's been told to me that there's something circulating around in that respect, but that is not. I'm used to that straight Boston accent he liked to pull out when he was disappointed with me. Anyhow, he's going to do great there, though, and I think adapting his accent will be a part of his success.
If you get a chance, you should watch that video. It's pretty fun.
I will certainly.
All right, Chris Lee, last one. Bring us home.
Yeah, I got a couple of personnel related questions. First of all, I don't think we saw Derek Green this year. Jaquez Hunter, I think, was out a lot of fall camp. Where are you with those two guys?
Just it's a slow process back, and I think we have to really take inventory of where they are physically and what we feel like they can do moving forward, and we'll be working with them and with our training staff to determine, hey, when is their healthy return and what are they capable of doing for us. But we support them fully, and I know they were discouraged to not be out there, but unfortunately that's a part of football. So
on the offensive side at the line, you had three freshmen, I think Hanson, Ketchick, and Pitchford, who I don't think played a snap this year. Where are you using those guys individually, like attack between, in terms of guard, center, tackle for each of those kids?
They've played, each of them, I think, have played multiple positions. Gage has been the one that's, I think, been exclusively a guard. All three of them have bright futures. I think flexibility there is going to be critical, especially as we, look to put the best line of scrimmage together in year two. But I would just say kind of to be determined. Again, Gage has been a guard for us and a good one, and he was a part of our practice in the Tennessee week, and thought he did a really good job. Between Catch, and Gunner, those guys have kind of swung around inside and outside, and we'll want to build some flexibility in so that we can make sure we put the best line of scrimmage out on the field.
All right, Coach. Thanks so much.
Thanks to everyone. Great to see you guys.
Thank you.